When we start to talk about transport across a membrane, this transport is going to fall into one of two categories. We have passive transport, and then we also have what's called active transport. So if we talk about the characteristics of these two transports and how they vary from each other, one of the major differences between the two is going to have to do with the direction of movement. So when we're talking about passive transport, this is always going to involve molecules that are moving down their concentration gradient. And when we say that something is moving down its concentration gradient, what that is referring to is the fact that the molecules are going to go from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. And when we have molecules that are moving down their concentration gradient, it's like a ball rolling down a hill. That is the direction that molecules tend to move. It's the natural tendency. And so what goes along with this is the fact that this does not require any energy. So no energy is going to be required. And in addition to that, this may or may not require proteins. So the proteins that we're talking about here would be the transport proteins. So we may or may not require the use of channel proteins and carrier proteins. Now, if we take all of this and we look at the active transport side of things, when we're talking about active transport, it's just the opposite. So in this case, we're going to move things up a concentration gradient. Or another way to say this would be to say that they are moving against their concentration gradient. So this would be moving things from an area of low concentration to high concentration. This would be like rolling a ball up a hill. The ball does not naturally want to go up the hill. And in the same way, molecules do not really want to go up a concentration gradient, or they do not want to go to an area where they are more highly concentrated. So what this means is that this is always going to require an input of energy. And that energy input is usually going to be in the form of ATP. Okay, so adenosine triphosphate, one of the uses that it has inside the cell is going to be that it's going to help us to concentrate molecules that the cell really needs. And then the last thing here is that this is also always going to require a transport protein, and specifically this is going to require the carrier proteins. So those are the major differences between the passive transport and active transport. Now, passive transport, we are going to have some different types of passive transport inside the cell. And so just to mention a few of those, we can have diffusion would be one type. We can also have what we call facilitated diffusion. And then another category that we have is osmosis. With the active transport, we just have what we call active transport. And again, that is always going to require a carrier protein.